imposing silhouette of Casa Loma looms over the modern skyline of Toronto, like a stone giant roused from a deep and troubled slumber. This majestic castle was built to be a testament to the immense wealth and boundless ambition of one man. But it has since transformed into a monument of lost dreams and lingering spirits. Visitors who walk through the grand heavy doors often report an immediate and unsettling drop in temperature that chills them to the bone, regardless of the season outside. It is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, and the echoes of a bygone era scream silently from the shadows of the ornate hallways. The air inside feels heavy, with the weight of unseen eyes watching every move you make within these cold stone walls. Sir Henry Pellatt was a man of extraordinary vision, and he possessed a desire to create a residence that would rival the royal palaces of Europe. He was a wealthy financier and a decorated soldier who commanded the Queen's own Rifles regiment with pride and distinction. His dream took physical form between the years of 1911 and 1914, as hundreds of workers toiled to erect the Gothic Revival masterpiece. They utilized the finest materials imported from across the globe to ensure every detail reflected sheer perfection. Yet beneath the veneer of opulence and grandeur lay a foundation of hubris that would eventually invite a darkness that no amount of money could ever banish. The castle boasts 98 rooms and covers nearly 200,000 square feet of prime real estate on a hill overlooking the city below. It features soaring towers and secret passages, and a massive library that could hold thousands of volumes of ancient knowledge. The Great Hall, with its 60-foot high ceiling, was designed to impress dignitaries and royalty alike with its sheer scale and architectural dominance. However, the empty spaces that were once filled with the laughter of the elite now harbor a quiet malevolence that settles in the corners of the vast rooms. The architecture itself seems to trap the energy of the past, creating a battery that fuels the paranormal activity reported by staff and tourists alike. Lady Mary Pellatt was the beloved wife of Sir Henry, and she was the heart of the castle during its brief golden age. She was known for her kindness and her dedication to the Girl Guides of Canada organization, which she championed with great fervor. Despite her failing health, she hosted lavish social gatherings that were the talk of Toronto society for years to come. Her presence is said to be the strongest in the conservatory, where she spent much of her time tending to exotic plants. Witnesses claim to smell the faint scent of floral perfume, even when no flowers are in bloom, suggesting that the lady of the house has never truly left her beloved garden. The construction of Casa Loma cost $3.5 million at the time, which was an astronomical sum that would equate to tens of millions in the modern currency of today. Sir Henry Pellatt spared no expense in ensuring that his home was equipped with the latest technology, including an elevator and a central vacuum system. He even planned for 3 bowling alleys and a shooting range in the basement, alongside a swimming pool that was never completed. This unfinished pool remains a dark and damp void beneath the castle, where shadows seem to dance of their own accord. It is a place where the air is stagnant, and the silence is so profound it hurts the ears of those brave enough to enter. Economic hardship struck the Pellatt family following the end of the First World War and the depression that followed. The city of Toronto increased property taxes on the castle to an unbearable level that forced Sir Henry Pellatt into financial ruin. The dream that had taken years to build crumbled in a fraction of that time, leaving the family with no choice but to abandon their beloved home. They auctioned off their prized possessions for a fraction of their value and left the castle with nothing but broken hearts. This tragic exit is believed to be the catalyst for the hauntings, as the emotional imprint of their despair seeped into the very mortar of the building. After the Pellatt family departed the castle, briefly operated as a luxury hotel and a nightlife venue for the wealthy elite of the Roaring Twenties. It became a playground for jazz musicians and flappers who danced the night away in the very rooms where Sir Henry had once brooded over his losses. However, this era of frivolity was short-lived, and the castle soon fell into a state of disrepair and neglect. The city eventually seized the property for unpaid taxes, and it sat empty for years, gathering dust and attracting vandals. It was during this period of abandonment that the first stories of strange lights and eerie noises began to circulate among the local population. The Kiwanis Club of Toronto eventually stepped in to save the castle from demolition and began operating it as a tourist attraction to fund their charitable works. As the doors opened to the public, the ghost stories evolved from rumors into terrifying first-hand accounts from credible witnesses. Staff members working late at night reported hearing footsteps pacing the floors above them when the building was supposed to be empty. Security guards conducting their rounds would find doors that they had locked moments before standing wide open. The castle seemed to resent the intrusion of strangers, and it began to manifest its displeasure in increasingly frightening ways. One of the most frequent apparitions sighted within the castle walls is known widely as the White Lady. She is often seen on the second floor or near the servant quarters, and is believed to be the spirit of a maid who worked for the Pellatt family. Legend says she died of influenza during the epidemic that swept through the city in the early 20th century. Her spirit appears as a misty figure, dressed in a traditional maid uniform from the era. Guests have reported seeing her cleaning invisible messes or standing silently at the end of long corridors before vanishing into thin air when approached. The conservatory remains a focal point for paranormal activity and is often cited as the most active room in the entire castle. Visitors often report feeling a sudden pressure on their chest or a hand brushing against their shoulder when no one is there. Some have even captured photographs of strange anomalies and orbs floating near the stained glass dome that crowns the room. The spirit of Lady Mary Pellatt is believed to watch over this space, protecting her plants and ensuring that visitors treat her home with respect. Her energy here is not malevolent, but it is undeniably intense and commanding. Beneath the main structure lies an 800-foot tunnel that connects the castle to the hunting lodge and the stables. This damp and dimly lit passageway was used by the staff to move between buildings without facing the harsh Canadian winter. It is a long and lonely walk that feels like a descent into the underworld for those who traverse it alone. The tunnel is known for its oppressive atmosphere and the sound of disembodied voices that seem to echo from the stone walls. Many people refuse to walk the length of the tunnel, even during the day, citing an overwhelming feeling of dread. The stables themselves are a marvel of mahogany and Spanish tile, but they are also home to a darker presence. Sir Henry Pellatt loved his horses and treated them with the same luxury he afforded his human guests. However, there are stories of a stable hand who was trampled to death by an unruly horse in a tragic accident. His angry spirit is said to linger in the stalls, creating cold spots and frightening the animals that are brought in for special events. Staff have reported hearing the phantom sounds of horses whinnying and hooves clattering on the stone floor late at night. The Queen's Own Rifles Regiment has a museum located on the 3rd floor of Casa Loma, and it is another hotspot for supernatural occurrences. Sir Henry Pellatt was a dedicated military man, and his connection to the regiment was a defining part of his identity. Visitors to the museum have reported seeing the figure of a soldier in a World War I uniform staring out the window. Some believe this could be Sir Henry himself, looking out over the city that turned its back on him. The spectral soldier never acknowledges the living, but his presence is felt as a stern and watchful gaze. The round room on the main floor is architecturally unique, with its curved doors and windows that were designed to fit the shape of the wall perfectly. It is a space that defies the rigid lines of traditional construction, and perhaps that is why it attracts spiritual energy. Psychics who have visited the castle claim that the round room acts as a portal or a vortex for spirits entering our world. Guests often feel dizzy or disoriented when standing in the center of the room, as if the laws of physics are slightly skewed. It is a beautiful room that hides a disorienting power beneath its elegant surface. Sir Henry Pellatt had a private study where he would retreat to manage his business affairs and plan his next great venture. The desk he used sits in the room as a reminder of the man who built this empire of stone. Staff members have reported seeing a figure sitting at the desk late at night with his head in his hands. It is a heartbreaking image of a man crushed by the weight of his own ambition and the failure that cost him everything. The ghost of Sir Henry seems trapped in a perpetual state of regret, unable to move on from the loss of his castle. There is a particular elevator in Casa Loma that was one of the first electric elevators installed in a private residence in Toronto. It was a marvel of engineering for its time, but today it has a mind of its own. The elevator is known to operate without anyone pressing the buttons, moving between floors at random intervals. Mechanics have inspected the machinery countless times and found no electrical faults to explain the phenomenon. It is as if an unseen operator is still conducting their daily duties, ferrying invisible passengers up and down the main tower. The oak room is arguably the most oppressive room in the entire castle, due to its dark wood paneling and intricate plaster ceiling. It was used as a drawing room where Sir Henry Pellatt would entertain his male guests with cigars and brandy. The atmosphere in this room is thick and heavy, and many visitors report feeling sudden waves of nausea upon entering. Paranormal investigators have recorded electronic voice phenomena in this room, capturing growls and whispers that are inaudible to the human ear. It is a place where the masculine energy of the past has curdled into something aggressive. Deep in the basement, the unfinished swimming pool sits empty and abandoned like a concrete scar beneath the opulence above. It was intended to be a place of leisure and relaxation, but it was never filled with water due to financial constraints. The empty basin is now a breeding ground for shadows and strange acoustic anomalies that distort sound. People standing near the edge of the pool have reported feeling the urge to jump into the darkness. It is a dangerous allure that pulls at the subconscious mind, whispering that there is something waiting in the deep. A tour guide once shared a terrifying encounter she had while closing down the castle for the night alone. She was checking the second-floor landing when she heard the distinct sound of a child laughing coming from the guest bedroom. Knowing that all visitors had left, she cautiously approached the room to investigate the source of the noise. As she peered inside, she saw a small ball roll across the floor from under the bed and stop at her feet. When she looked up, she saw a shadow dart into the closet and slam the door shut with violent force. This incident is not isolated, as many staff members have reported encounters with child spirits within the walls of Casa Loma. It is rumored that during the time the castle was a hotel, a young boy went missing and was never found. While there are no official records to substantiate this claim, the sightings of a playful but eerie boy persist. He is often blamed for moving small objects and tugging on the clothing of female visitors. His laughter echoes in the empty hallways, a sound that is both innocent and deeply chilling in the dead of night. The third floor of the castle was originally intended for the servants, and it lacks the grandeur of the lower levels. The hallways are narrower, and the ceilings are lower, creating a claustrophobic atmosphere that sets the nerves on edge. This area is known for intense cold spots that move through the corridor like a physical entity. Visitors often describe the sensation of walking through a freezer, even in the middle of a humid summer day. It is believed that the spirits of the staff who lived and died in service to the castle are most active here. One particularly skeptical security guard was patrolling the tunnel late one night, determined to prove that the ghost stories were nonsense. As he walked toward the stables, his flashlight began to flicker and then died, completely plunging him into total darkness. He fumbled for his radio, but found that it was filled with static and white noise that drowned out his calls for help. Then he felt a cold breath on the back of his neck and heard a woman whisper his name directly into his ear. He ran the entire length of the tunnel in the dark and refused to ever work the night shift again. During the Halloween season, Casa Loma is transformed into a haunted house attraction known as Legends of Horror. While actors in costumes roam the grounds to scare guests, many believe that the real ghosts use this opportunity to blend in. There have been numerous reports of visitors interacting with what they thought was an actor, only to have the figure vanish before their eyes. These real spirits seem to enjoy the chaos and fear that the event generates, feeding off the energy of the screaming crowds. It blurs the line between theatrical horror and genuine paranormal activity. The Tower of Casa Loma offers a breathtaking view of Toronto, but climbing the narrow spiral staircases is a daunting task. The stairs are steep and winding, and many people feel an inexplicable sense of vertigo that goes beyond the physical height. Some climbers have reported feeling hands pushing them from behind or grabbing their ankles as they ascend. It is as if the castle itself is trying to repel invaders from reaching its highest points. The tower remains a place where the air is thin, and the veil between worlds feels dangerously fragile. There is a secret storage room hidden behind a panel in the study that was discovered years after the Pellatt family left. It contained personal items and documents that Sir Henry had hidden away in his final desperate days. The discovery of this room seemed to trigger a spike in paranormal activity in the study area. It was as if revealing his secrets had angered the spirit of the former master of the house. Books have been seen flying off the shelves, and inkwells have tipped over without being touched. The tragic decline of Lady Mary Pellatt is a central theme to the emotional resonance of the haunting at Casa Loma. She passed away just months after being forced to leave her dream home, and many believe she died of a broken heart. Her spirit is bound to the castle not out of anger, but out of a longing for the life she lost too soon. Witnesses describe her ghost as projecting a profound sadness that can bring sensitive individuals to tears. She wanders the halls, searching for a peace that was denied to her in life. One of the most disturbing accounts involves a wedding photographer who was setting up equipment in the Great Hall. He was alone in the room, adjusting his lighting, when he saw a reflection in his camera lens that did not match the room. Behind him, in the reflection, stood a tall man in a tuxedo with a stern expression on his face. When the photographer turned around, the room was empty, but the temperature had dropped 20 degrees. He packed up his gear in a panic and left the castle, refusing to complete the job. The basement area near the boiler room is another location that staff members tend to avoid whenever possible. The mechanical noises of the castle are loudest here, but sometimes other sounds can be heard underneath the hum of the machinery. People have reported hearing guttural growls and the sound of chains dragging across the concrete floor. This area feels primal and dangerous, unlike the sad or mischievous hauntings on the upper floors. It suggests that something older and darker may reside in the foundations of the hill itself. In the 1930s, during the time the castle was abandoned, it became a shelter for transients and local youths looking for trouble. Stories from that era speak of people being chased out of the building by invisible assailants who threw debris at them. These accounts suggest that the spirits were active and territorial long before the castle became a tourist destination. The abandonment seemed to ferment the negative energy, turning sadness into aggression. The walls absorbed the fear of intruders and amplified it over the decades. Sir Henry Pellatt died in 1939 with very little money to his name, living in a shared room in a suburban home. His funeral, however, was the largest Toronto had ever seen, with thousands lining the streets to honor the fallen tycoon. Despite this public outpouring of respect, his spirit seems unable to find rest away from his castle. He is tethered to Casa Loma by the sheer force of his will and his inability to let go of his creation. His ghost is the tragic king of a castle that no longer belongs to him. A psychic medium who visited the castle conducted a séance in the round room, attempting to communicate with the spirits. She claimed to make contact with Sir Henry and described him as being confused and angry about the strangers in his home. During the session, the table began to vibrate violently, and a candlestick was thrown across the room. The medium ended the connection, immediately warning that the spirit was too volatile to engage with further. It served as a stark warning that the dead do not always welcome the curiosity of the living. The feeling of being watched is a constant companion for anyone who spends time alone in Casa Loma. It is a sensation that pricks the skin and raises the hair on the back of the neck. It happens in the library and the bedrooms, and even the bathrooms where mirrors seem to reflect things that are not there. This pervasive surveillance creates a psychological toll on the staff, who often work in pairs to avoid being isolated. The castle is a panopticon of the paranormal, where the living are the subjects of scrutiny. As the sun sets, the castle takes on a different character, entirely transforming from a historic site into a Gothic nightmare. The shadows lengthen, and the stone gargoyles on the exterior seem to shift their positions in the twilight. The artificial lights inside struggle to penetrate the gloom, leaving vast areas of darkness where anything could be hiding. It is during these hours that the castle feels most alive with the energy of the past. The silence is not empty, but rather filled with the held breath of 100 years of history. A visitor from the United States once wrote a letter to the management describing a terrifying experience in the guest suite. She woke up in the middle of the night to find a woman standing at the foot of her bed, staring at her. The woman had no face, just a smooth patch of skin where her features should have been. The visitor screamed, and the apparition dissolved into a cloud of black smoke that drifted out the window. She checked out of her hotel nearby the next morning and swore never to return to Toronto. The legacy of Casa Loma is a complex tapestry of ambition and tragedy and supernatural mystery woven together. It stands as a reminder that material wealth is fleeting, and that buildings can hold memories long after the builders are gone. The ghosts of the Pellatt family and their staff are not just stories to scare tourists, but echoes of real lives cut short or ruined. They are trapped in a loop of their own making, replaying their glory days and their ultimate downfall. The castle is a beautiful cage for souls that cannot move on. Even the gardens surrounding the castle are not free from the touch of the paranormal. Gardeners have reported tools going missing only to reappear in bizarre locations like the tops of trees or buried in flower beds. Some have seen shadowy figures moving among the hedges in the early morning mist. The land itself seems to be imbued with the same restless energy as the stone structure it supports. The boundary between the castle and the outside world is blurred by the wandering spirits. The tunnel that leads to the stables remains the most notorious location for those seeking a frightening encounter. The acoustic properties of the long concrete tube amplify every sound, making footsteps echo like thunder. It is easy to imagine that you are being followed when walking through its damp length. Many people have recorded strange anomalies on their phones while walking here, including voices whispering, "Get out." It is a warning that the spirits are tired of the constant stream of visitors invading their sanctuary. Ultimately, Casa Loma is a place where the barrier between the past and the present is exceptionally thin. It challenges the skepticism of even the most rational minds with its unexplained phenomena. The cold spots and the voices and the apparitions are pieces of a puzzle that may never be fully solved. It is a grand castle built on a hill of dreams that turned into a nightmare for its creator. And now it belongs to the ghosts who walk its halls in eternal silence. As you leave the castle grounds and look back at the towering spires, one final time, you cannot shake the feeling of dread. The windows look like dark eyes staring back at you, confirming that you have been watched the entire time. The beauty of the architecture cannot mask the underlying sadness and horror of the history contained within. You carry the chill of the castle with you long after you have returned to the safety of the modern world. The spirits of Casa Loma do not let you go easily. The story of Casa Loma is far from over as new reports of paranormal activity continue to surface every year. The castle remains a beacon for those fascinated by the macabre and the unexplained. It stands as a dark jewel in the crown of Toronto, a place where history is alive and watching. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, a visit to Casa Loma will leave you questioning the nature of reality. The castle waits on the hill, patient and eternal, ready to share its secrets with the next brave soul.